Hello there! I'm Squire Callahan Ridgeborn, almost a Battlemaster, always a wizard, and tonight on the show I am joined by Bolt, a Paragon Warrior from the Rising Winds. Bolt, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Bolt, how did you get your start in Amtgard?
Sure. So I started in 2011. I started at Origins Game Fair. We've been running the demo there for a long time. So
Mhm.
I was a young teenager. I showed up to fight in a quest. I was the only person that showed up. And they said, you can either fight the boss and get the sword, or you can get your $6 back, the entry fee. So I said, I'm going to fight the boss. So there's a YouTube video of my first time playing Amtgard called Minotaur versus Face, where I was fighting. It's an old Rising Winds knight named Obi, and he just clobbered me straight in the face with a giant duct tape battle axe. But it was funny, and I showed up the next weekend to VTR is the park I started at, and just started playing Amtgard from there.
Sick. Okay. What is your favorite kind of battle game?
So I love node battle games. So specifically, Battlecry runs a node game almost every year, and I think participating in that with friends is got to be one of my go-tos. So like that kind of node area control, jumping from node to node to try to control them on, especially like playing in the woods is always better too. So those go well together.
Yeah, I like that. That's a solid format to play in. I'm hoping to try to make it out to Battlecry this year. That sounds super cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So why did you start playing Warrior?
Sure. So the first Kingdom event I went to was a Bridge Wars, and I had recently joined Temple of the Vanguard. I borrowed some armor from somebody in that company, and it was like this kind of cheap, not well-fitting set of full plate, and I just strapped it on and got on the battlefield and got crushed by FC back in the day, and it was a good time. So that was my introduction to Warrior.
Okay. What made you really fall in love with the Warrior class and want to get a Paragon in it?
Warrior is a class that is all about taking up space on the battlefield and controlling the front line, especially when you're working with the people standing next to you to kind of push. You can push forward to hold objectives, and you can maintain space while the skirmishers around you might dart in and out to assassinate people. But you are kind of that rock that keeps the enemy team from pushing your team in, but also you are the person that can encourage the people next to you to keep moving forward. You're the unstoppable force that just keeps rolling forward with your team.
Okay. What is a fictional character you think that best represents the Amtgard Warrior?
My mind goes to superheroes probably. So there's a X-Men villain that I can't think of right now. I think maybe it's called Juggernaut or something. That is just this guy that once he starts moving, he just runs. He just keeps running forward, and he can run through anything, and he's unstoppable. And sometimes it can feel like that if you have your friends on your side and you're suited up and maybe you got some enchantments on you and you're just pushing forward. I think so. That can feel like Warrior sometimes.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So what in Amtgard makes Warrior unique?
First and foremost, 6 points of armor, right? Nothing else gets 6 point of armor, and 6 points that's a lot of armor, and you don't always realize it. And 4 points is also a lot of armor, but 6 points, especially with AA, especially now that AA is ancestral armor is chargeable, like you were just soaking hits all day long. Arrow, you're wearing 3 points of armor. Arrows feel like a lot because going straight from 3 to 0 is pretty rough, but going from 6 to 5, you're not literally ignoring arrows, but they are easy. It is quite easy to just get mended back up and ignore them. So I think that combination of AA and 6 points of armor is really what makes Warrior unique.
What role in a battle game does Warrior fill best?
I think you can play it differently if you want to be more offensive or more defensive. So if you want to be a hyper offensive like scavenge user that's just kind of running around and murdering people, and especially if you're like a high stick individual, if you have a really good stick skill, you can just sometimes you see warlords like running around in just a gambeson playing Warrior and just scavenging all their armor points back. So you can play it like that, and especially now that you can recharge. You can use momentum to recharge your shake it off in your insults and use the insults to drive away the people that are scary. So you can play it offensively, or you can play it in like a line fighting role as paladins, anti-paladins next to you, maybe some like bards or druids supporting you in that more kind of tank line fighting role. Especially, it's kind of battle game dependent, and also maybe park versus kingdom dependent.
Okay. What class ability that Warrior gets do you like the best?
I think AA is strong, but not my favorite. Shake It Off. I love Shake It Off because ice ball and getting frozen and just having to stand there and just, I mean, it's any CC obviously, but the fact that I can just get back in the game and um, just keep that charged up, especially like sometimes people like Battery Bard is awesome and a Song of Power is awesome, and people's first inclination for that is not always that, oh hey, the warrior actually has some abilities they need to recharge too. But grabbing the bard on your team and saying, hey, let me get my stuff back real quick, it'll take just a second, and you get your two abilities back and you're ready to go. And then also insult, and I think insulting healers specifically is
Oh,
I
okay.
love. So like you're line fighting and you're maybe you knock a couple points off your enemies, or they got CC'd by your teammates and their healer is running up behind them and trying to get them back into action, and you insult that healer, and now it's not always, you don't always get the full 30 seconds of value out of it, right? But you're still getting 10-15 seconds of disruption on that healer, and that allows your team to kind of capitalize on that weakness that they're having.
Okay. Which warrior class ability do you like the least?
Got to be True Grit.
Okay.
It feels like every time I use True Grit, half the time I get shattered,
Hmm.
and that's rough. And then the other time, it's like it seems like I use True Grit, I come back up, and then I am smack dab in the middle of the enemy team with 0 points of armor. And so True Grit's cool when you get to, if you get Finger of Death or something, or Call Lightning, right?
Hmm.
That True Grit feels pretty good then. But it feels like most of the time when I'm dying, I got no armor left, and
Mm.
so True Gritting doesn't always feel very good, but it's situationally okay, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, the shatter hitting the true gritted warrior really does, because like it feels like the situation you want true grit for is when you've got the AA up and you're,
Yeah.
you haven't lost anything yet, you get hit with that finger of death, and then that, you use your true grit, and then they
Hmm.
shatter you anyway, and like you were just
Yeah.
slightly less convenient to have eliminated at that point.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, when do you use your ancestral armor? How do you make best use of that?
Yeah, so that has definitely changed recently, I guess. So now that it's chargeable, I think I might just be using it every single life. 'Cause, I mean, it's charge 10, which is rough. And maybe at park level, it still might be kind of annoying to get that charge 10 on, because you're not going to have a bard every game.
Right.
But in Bridge Wars specifically, or in like a more organized format where you're going to have a bard in your team that's ready to be recharging you, I think you just got to use it all the time. Now, previously, I think I almost never used AA on the first life because it seemed like people generally come out guns blazing with the dispels. Like it's
Mm.
on the top of their mind. They're like, we need to get rid of these enchantments, And so sometimes I might fight a little bit, and then if I'm staying alive on that first life, I'll step back and put on AA and then get back in the fight, or and then I'll just kind of keep using it throughout. So I don't generally, if I see a naturalize on the field, I probably won't throw it on. I'm still expecting to eat the wizard dispels because they have them. They're going to use them, right?
Right.
But um, yeah, I think mostly just not using it. I don't use it on that first rush usually, and I don't usually use it when I see a naturalize around.
What weapon style are you using when you play warrior?
These days, I mostly am a spear fighter and
Okay.
great polearm fighter. I think you can definitely play with sword and board, or really however you want. I think like flow or sword and down spear are all both great options too. But I like spear fighting. I like, especially now, kind of this more recent advancement of strap, like shoulder, small strap shields becoming more popular.
Hmm.
Those are really dope. I think it's nice being a person. There's a weakness to having a board. It feels like sometimes if you're
Hmm.
relying on AA and catching spell balls on your board, and you can like move your board out of the way, but it there is something that feels nice about being this suited up person of armor that is almost ignoring spell balls, and you're pretty much ignoring most projectiles. Like they exist, they're going to deal damage to you, but you're not super worried about them. The spear fighter, I think that also is just more of my play style of that kind of area control, area domination. And I think specifically like last Bridge Wars, it was the weapon of choice for me because I would push forward and I would hold an objective, and then Dante would maybe jump out and skirmish, and he was using like a short, and I think it wasn't even like a full 36 short, like it was a super short and a Madu, and he was kind of
Yeah.
the opposite spectrum of the person that was closing and murdering people, and my job was to be the range control that he could back up into, and I could keep people from collapsing in on him as that like 10-foot spear user most of the time.
I remember seeing that combo. That looked pretty effective from the couple of games of your guys I caught. That was good.
Dante was killing it.
But having somebody that you're good at fighting with can make a huge difference as well. Like if you've practiced together, that synergy
100%.
makes it very difficult to get past.
Yeah, that was like one of the first. Dante's someone that's pretty new to me fighting with, but I think he's just very good at the game. So it's easy to fight with people that are very good at the game, obviously. But a lot of the other people in Yokai are people that I've been fighting with for a long time, so that helps a lot for sure.
Are there any weird rules interactions that Warrior gets
I
into?
don't, I couldn't think of any. I mean, besides that, I think sometimes people struggle with armor breaking, and maybe it's not like complicated as much as it is just something you have to learn
Mm.
how to count. And then it's hard to count points of armor. It's something you got to work at, like accurately keeping track of 5 locations of 6 points of armor. That's a lot of points. So that's the closest thing to rules we have is counting, I guess, which is a good problem to have.
Okay. How can other classes best support Warrior?
Ends in release. That's really what I'm looking for. I'm not generally trying to get mended back up to full unless we have a lot of downtime or somebody's got a lot of mends. But being a warrior who maybe got one location destroyed is pretty rough. And like, so if I still have 6 points in a couple locations, and getting that one location mended up 1 or 2 points really helps a lot. And then releasing, like, your Shake It Off can't be up all the time. So that if you are filling that role as a rock, you cannot do that while frozen or stunned or awed or teared. And so getting released out of that quickly is kind of one of the best ways to help out a warrior, I would say. Verbals is our weakness, so
Right.
releases help with that.
Okay. Yeah. So is there any enchantment that Warrior is really looking to have on?
Yeah, I don't get them most of the time, which is fine. They're not super necessary, but ESOL and ProMag feel awesome, I would
Mm.
say. The getting shelved is annoying, and I mean, obviously, all verbals, and that's basically what those two things are protecting you from is verbals.
Yeah.
And it is just a giant patch on your biggest weak spot, and both those spells are awesome. And there's a balance of not wanting to make yourself too much of a dispel target. So those are some pretty high value enchantments that your casters aren't probably going to have a ton of, but they could be super impactful if you can make them last, or especially if they get persistent or something.
Yeah. All right. Oh, where did we go? Where we go? Okay. So we already talked about this a little bit about how Warrior is weak to verbals and less so spell balls. In the
Yeah.
current meta, are you seeing a lot of spell balls, or is it almost always verbals that are coming at you?
There's definitely not that many spell balls. There's not a lot of like elemental barrage wizards running around anymore, I would say. It's a lot of verbals and it's a lot of like weapon destruction. I think weapon destruction is something that comes in and out of the meta and is probably something that's a little bit better in competitive battle games than, or like competitive tournaments than in standard battle games. But things like Shatter Weapon and even like Heat Weapon can really be annoying if you're not a warrior who brings enough equipment onto the field. So you can mitigate that a little bit by bringing some extra stuff, but it can still be annoying to have to swap out your stuff all the time.
How do you overcome that verbal weakness to really be the most effective player?
It's got to be teamwork, I think. I think most of the verbals, I mean, if they're killing you, that's gonna happen. It's fine. It's just a part of the game. But in terms of the CC based verbals, you're really relying on your team to release you or making sure you have your shake it off charge.
Okay. So something that I've talked about a couple of times on the channel now, ever since anti-paladin and paladin got opened up for everyone that has a level 6 class, I
Hmm.
feel like command immunity has sort of been spiraling upward in its amount that it has. Have you seen a shift away from command, or do you see yourself as only getting all the command spells now?
Yeah, I think you do catch a lot of command spells, but I've noticed more shoves on the field now, I think.
Mm,
I think bards take more shoves than they used to because if it's kind of their only tool to deal with command besides hitting them with the stick
mm.
or command immunity. And there's always been an amount of like track star wizards that are just shoving you all day long. So I think Yeah, we're probably catching more command stuff than we used to, but we definitely people like to make people in armor run, so we were
Mm.
definitely always catching those awes and tears and shoves.
So, how does Warrior play differently on a local battlefield versus a kingdom
I
field?
think that on a local battlefield, you generally have to play more aggressively. When the team sizes are smaller, there's less of an opportunity to lock up and line fight, and
Mm.
teamwork is hard in a bigger team. And that definitely all varies from battle game to battle game. Like if you're having a bridge battle at your park, then Warrior is going to feel very different than an average Amtgard like Ring the Bell or something. So I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
at a park level, I tend to find myself playing a more aggressive role where I am using my armor points to trade aggressively in a way that of trying to kill multiple people, and not trying to conserve my HP or not trying to protect my teammates, and more so just trying to be a wrecking ball to get objectives done through, just killing people and get them out of the way for my team.
What is the minimum equipment I need if I wanted to play
I
Warrior?
think if you want to play Warrior, you should start with Gambison. You're going to need a Gambison pretty much no matter what armor you wear because you're going to want it for averaging eventually. So it's the best place to start. It's relatively affordable. And then you should just start adding pieces of steel as you can acquire them or aluminum, adding pieces of metal armor as you can. And so there are a number of like affordable ways to start getting armor. I started with a pretty cheap piece of like LARP style steel armor. You can get what you can afford, but start with a Gambison and get some solid metal plates from there, and then just use whichever equipment you want to use in terms of melee weapons and shields and stuff.
All right. What does the idealized battle kit look like for a Warrior?
It's probably a somewhat customized suit of aluminum armor that fits you well. Butcher's Mail is also a good option, especially if you're playing like the Shark Mail, if you're playing Marauder, especially since you only need the 4 points. But it's pretty easy to average Butcher's Mail up to 6 points for playing Vanilla Warrior if you just add a little bit of steel or aluminum on top of it. So get something that fits you, get something that's lightweight, and get something that you can fight in year round if you can. Like there is, it does kind of suck in the summer sometimes. Obviously, it is a little bit easier now. I think with our averaging is a little bit more generous, and well, just armor points in general are a little bit more generous. So we probably don't need to be wearing as much armor as we did previously, and
Mhm.
so getting you if you want to be comfortable in armor, you should be less focused on aesthetics, even though aesthetics are awesome and cool and we're a LARP and we want to look cool.
Mhm.
But if you treat it like a suit of sports equipment, then you're probably
Mhm.
going to have a more comfortable time battle gaming. If you view this as the kit you're putting on to play this sport to your best ability, as opposed to trying to look like a badass knight. So there's some tension there. But
Yeah.
if your goal is to be purely effective, then you should look at it like sports equipment.
Okay. Have you used any of the new archetypes in your local
I
play?
have not tried any of them yet. I'm interested in them. I was initially interested in Juggernaut after when they first got revealed, but then
Mhm.
they added charge on ancestral armor. So I think at this point I am more interested in Vanilla Warrior. I think they all have their place. I think Phoenix Tears on Juggernaut is interesting at a park level for sure. Might
Okay.
be cool at Kingdom level too, just because it gives you a little bit of that self-sufficiency of getting back up with all of your armor points back. And I think it would be cool to try it with a stacked enchantment as well, since you can wear an extra protection enchantment with it. So that's cool. And I think if you are one of those better fighters, more aggressive fighters, highly athletic fighters, then I think you can have a lot of fun with Marauder and running around and scavenging and
Yeah.
momentuming
Because
nonstop.
you can get insult back with that.
Yeah, yeah, insult becomes chargeable, so you
Mhm.
can momentum back your insult and your shake it off, which makes you
Gives you a
powerful,
little
I
more
think.
durability there too with the crowd control.
Yeah,
Okay. Shifting a little bit to talk about some Paragon questions. What is something a warrior can do to really stand out to the
I
Paragon?
don't know that I have a super tuned in view on what the Paragons think.
Mhm.
Paragon wasn't something I was hunting, so I'm not super sure. But my opinion would be that a warrior should be a consistent person. A warrior should be a person that you can look beside you and you know that they are not going to just disappear. And so a warrior should be this kind of I wouldn't worry about being. There's some desire to be flashy, but I think a warrior's strength is more in their consistency and their reliability, more so than their high value plays or their flashiness.
Okay. What is some advice you'd give to someone who's starting out as a level 1 warrior?
I would recommend getting armor or borrowing armor, and it is a money thing, but it is just a part of the class, and you should start using it, and you should start wearing it, and it's gonna suck sometimes to wear armor and it's exhausting and you don't always have to wear your full kit, but you have to wear your armor and you have to get used to it, and it will get better as you do it more.
Why should I start playing warrior?
I think if you are currently annoyed by ice ball and you want to wear a bunch of armor, warrior's the class for you, because ice ball is something I find incredibly annoying when I'm playing other classes, and as warrior it feels like it's no longer a factor, so that's awesome. And it is the class with 6 points of armor. If that is something you're interested in, warrior's the only place you're going to get it. So
okay, what advice would you give someone that is already a level 6 warrior and maybe they want to go from being a 6 warrior to that paragon level?
I think you should work on your teamwork. You should,
okay,
maybe if you're a level 6 warrior and you are doing individually a lot of good things in that, but maybe a warrior is a warrior combined with other people is more than the sum of their parts, and that's true for all classes. And I think maybe this is more of just general advice, is that your personal impact will be greater if you are working with people and collaborating and helping each other on the battlefield. So I would work with people.
Have you ever taken on an apprentice?
I have not. That's something this is my first Paragon, so I guess this would be my first opportunity to.
Okay. Is that something you see yourself wanting to do in the future?
It might be. I think if a person that I meshed with or was interested, I would consider it for sure, but it's not something I am actively seeking out.
All right, well, final 3 questions, then I'll promise I'll let you get back to your evening.
Sure.
What is your current Amtgard goal? What are you working on now?
I'm just looking to get back into some battle gaming, I think. So I've been very active doing a lot of service. It was like Feastocrat at Battlecry and at March event, at June event. And so I'm mostly just looking to get back into playing some battle games. I'd love to get the repeat win with Yokai at Bridge Wars, so I'm excited for that. And I need to, make sure I'm knocking some rust off and getting back into some fighting before then. So I'm excited to play some games.
All right. Can people come up and talk to you at events, ask about Warrior or anything else going on?
For sure. Feel free to talk to me or send me a DM on Facebook or Discord, for sure.
Okay. Do you have any final advice?
Yeah, make friends, play games with them. It makes the game so much better. Do the things that you want to do for fun. The game's a lot of fun when you try different things and do lots of different things. So find people you like and fight with them.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, a special thank you to Bolt for coming on the show tonight. I appreciate you being here and sharing with us some of your warriorly wisdom. If you, the viewer, have made it to the end of this video, please subscribe for more battle gaming content. If you have any questions for Bolt, please leave them down in the comments. I'm sure that Bolt has just a ton of things that they'd love to share with you. And we will see you in the next video.
Thanks.